Where do I, where do I start? Okay. For a long time now, I've told you that Nut and Todge didn't just find each other and be introduced to each other through some sort of game and strategy by Nut, who for no reason whatsoever decides to go to London to find a UK man. Um, Makes no sense whatsoever, does it? But this narrative is already crumbling. But they didn't meet in 2016. They didn't meet in 2015. They met earlier. And I'm going to show this to you in a two-part series with what I have found. Now, what I find fascinating during this time is that these photos have been completely, written off by, sold and changed hands, but the original photographer or company that had these photos, they no longer show them on their website. They could have sold them. But it's very, very interesting. Very, very interesting, because there were a lot of things hidden at the time. So I'm referring to Todger's visit to Miami, late April to early May. This is just after he broke up supposedly with Christina Bonus. I can't pronounce her last name correctly, I don't think, but I don't know. I won't even go there with that. I think that's a complete construct as well. That's my opinion. But supposedly he just broke up with her and he was having a ladies' night or ladies' time just before his mate Guy Pally gets married. This is just before he goes to the wedding with all of his mates. And he has this lovely night with a brunette in a nightclub called Live, or LIV, in Miami. I'm going to show you what's now available just through articles about this whole story of Todge being with a brunette at this nightclub. This is an Australian article. I'm going to scroll down slowly because I know it hurts people's eyes. But this is the silhouette of Todge and somebody else that's sitting there, and it's behind like a couch. Oh, crap. I'll go back. And you can see that they're saying that this is owned by Australscope, which it isn't. And is that it? That's it. Those photos. So I think one or two photos of that. Now, if you are to actually look at the images from a search, an image search from the same article, you will see that they're not owned by Australscope. They're in fact the copyright is by Mavericks Online, which is the correct agency that took these photos. Now, I just want to show you a different way of looking at this as well. Every single time there's something has to be questionable regarding, or has to be hidden regarding people's identities, they intentionally make these photos grainy. So these are the photos that have been put out there by Mavericks that are completely, if you can see here, blurry. That girl kind of looks like Cressida, but anyway. And I'll show you a comparison. Now this is another picture, which is still blurry, but it's still a lot clearer, where you can see the girl on the left and the guy on the right and the guy in the middle. So just quickly, mavericksphoto.com, if you actually look at, which is mavericksonline.com, if you put that through, it will go straight to this website. If you try to search Prince Harry, you will find no photos of that nightclub event anymore, and you won't actually find any photos of Miami. So while I'm here, I want to let you know that during this time of very, very early May 2014, late April 2014, Nuts Instagram are full of pictures that don't show her at an event or a particular location. There's no interviews taking place, there's no events taking place, and she is not anywhere to be seen other than just some elusive scenic photos. The story of the brunette hanging out with Todge is sold as the girl in the grey pants and the black top, as you can see below. But either it's a cover or it's somebody else. But what I find interesting is that I can see Nut and Marcus Anderson in this picture. Or in one of these pictures. In both of these pictures, if you look here, that's Nut and that's Marcus Anderson. And these pictures are saturated, so they're not the correct color, the colors. I can show you what Todge was wearing, that night. It's it's not like a light blue, it's a dark blue, kind of checkered, very nice shirt with jeans when he wasn't so pissed. So these colors are very, very intense, but they're not the true colors. But that is Nut. Well, I believe that is Nut, and that's Marcus Anderson. I'll leave that up to you to decide. It's, of course, very blurry. You can't really intend, but that body structure is Nut's. That body structure is Marcus Anderson's, and posture. And you can see them sitting here to the right. I'm sure she wasn't wearing hot pink shoes. And that's Todge there with another girl having a chat. Now bear in mind as well that this is still meant to be during, of course, oh wait, no, it's May 2014. This is just before she coincidentally opens up the TIG, and before she supposedly meets Corey Vitiello, which isn't true as well. She met Corey Vitiello, started hanging out with him through associates by January 2014. Not at all December or May or whenever she decided to interview him, quote unquote, for the TIG. Nope, didn't happen. You can see here, this is what Todge was wearing that night. So you can see just how saturated and kind of ultra, like how filtered the colors are. And I want to point that out because I have spotted the dress that I think that Nut was wearing that night. This is the dress that I've spotted. It's got the same pattern of circles. You can do your own findings, but you'll be able to have a look yourself. That this seems to be the dress that she was wearing. that night. So that falls in line with the colours of Todger's shirt and pants being a lot lighter and more saturated as well. You've got to understand that the Soho House community or clique have done this all together. They're all a part of this whole operation. And for example, Jake Rosenberg, who's now shot up into the stars, just very, very coincidentally, of course. He did an article on Marcus Anderson, and he talks about how Marcus Anderson says that he's lived in the UK since he was 19. He worked for Soho House in London under Nick Jones, and he's a consultant. And that what he does is he goes to every opening, every Soho House opening, and he creates pretty much the members and the memberships and stuff like that, and helps set up the actual Soho houses. That's what he does. But he only came back to Canada. He only came back to Canada because of Toronto Soho House opening up, which I'm sure he's no longer living in Toronto because there's other places, other hotels that have been opened since then, unless he somehow miraculously retired after all this gig went through successfully. But he's been friends with Beatrice and Misha Nono, whatever the hell her name is, who's a part of this whole elitist clique in UK. He has, Eddie Redmayne and other British actors as best friends. It's all high level stuff. He's been in this elitist clique since since he was brought up after high school in London, from when he was 19 onwards, and he only, I think back in 2012, came back to Toronto just to open the Toronto Soho House. So this is why Marcus Anderson has so many connections to royalty, to all of these people that are back in the UK, because he's been a part of that group for a very long time. And so when you see photos of Nut, Todge and Marcus, it's no surprise. If you see photos of Beatrice with Marcus, it's no surprise. Or Cara Delevingne, or Margot Robbie, or all these different people. They're all connected. And that's why you see what's played out in front of you. It's not that he could possibly be an agent, but he wasn't a Canadian living in Canada and then just, decided to get a message from a pigeon from the UK, here, complete this task and you'll win a golden ticket. Like, it's obviously, because he's had these connections and he's been able to pull this off so well. And that he goes to Miami, Basel, where is this? Is it here? I'm just going to have a look here. Yeah. So during events such as the TIFF or TIFF or Art Basel Miami, we have a substantial amount of members involved, i.e. Corey Vitiello, and Nut, and so many other people were there in December 2014. You can start to make sense of how they're all connected and how he promotes these events. And that's why he's always there. And that Nut was there as well around that time. But it's just a very, very tight community that have kept this whole thing a secret for a really long time. And so being in Miami all together under the Miami Soho house is not necessarily a big reveal in that sense. If Marcus Anderson and Nutt's there and Todge is there, the thing is they've known each other. Whether or not they were together genuinely, I don't believe at all that they were. And I'll show you that in why I think that in part 2. I think it's definitely an agreement. And they just catch up and have discussions. That's how I see it. But you can see how, if you can understand this kind of like inside a relationship, I guess, you can understand how this has been played out. That there's been a stage of actors within this Soho elitist group that have tried to convince the world that Nut met Todge by 2016 in the UK, just miraculously, over an Instagram post with emojis that weren't available at that point. So, yeah, see how you go. I guess I also want to just quickly put a disclaimer through before my video finishes that I have been the first to voice these findings and this work. And these aren't, of course, the content itself of these photos are not mine, and I don't own copyright to them. But that my findings and my research are my own, and I ask that if you share my work that you credit me, and that you use my handle either on Twitter or on here, because these are my findings and they're definitely not yours. So I just would like to have a supportive community. Yeah, I hope that you respect that. Because this is stuff that I've kept for a while now, and I've waited for someone to speak up, but they haven't, which is kind of sad in a way, but it's now not so surprising. Thanks, guys.